friends, I'm Liz.
I'm Robby. Welcome back to our channel, Bookworm Couple. Today we are going to be talking about the fourth book in the Wheel of Time series by Robert Jordan, The Shadow Rising. So Liz, after really enjoying the last book, how did you feel about book number 4?
It started off great.
Okay.
I probably actually physically read about maybe 40% of this book.
Good.
Percent of this book over listening to it, which the other ones I probably listened to about 80% of and read a little bit. But I was honestly, because I just struggled with the pace of it and keeping my own interest and not letting my mind wander.
Sure.
And this one, I was really pumped by the last one, so I felt like I was ready. Like, I felt like I could handle the story. I felt like I was really excited. I liked the energy that it had, so I read a good chunk of it. I would say about a little over halfway through, it really stalled out for me. Okay. And so I struggled with a good, I would say, like, all together, a good, like, quarter of the book to, like, but it really took me down a little bit.
Sure.
A lot of it.
Was there anything in particular that, or any plot lines?
Do you want to go into it now, or do you want to wait until we talk?
Until we really talk, you don't have to go into, like, huge details, but you can talk about, like, characters, storylines, or
Perrin and Aiel.
Okay.
Couldn't handle it. Mm-hmm. It's not for me. But we will definitely go more into that in a minute. Just kind of brought down the pace of the book for me a lot. It felt, Perrin started acting very much as I felt like Rand acted in the first few books, which I found very frustrating. It was like the same cycle repeated, and we were in his POV a lot, and it was very different than I had seen him. And obviously, if you've watched our videos, you know I'm a big Perrin fan. And it just, his inner monologue was repetitive, and the relationship was very frustrating.
Okay. Well, on the flip side of that, were there any plot lines or characters that you really enjoyed in this book?
I love Nynaeve and Elaine together. I think their duo was unexpected and great. I love their pairing. I love all of the people that they kind of bring together and their ragtag adventurous crew. And they really get some stuff done. They really tackle a lot of things, and I enjoyed their dynamic together a lot. I like Aviendha. She's great. I enjoyed Rand. It almost hurt me to say that. I enjoyed...
Smooth sailing from here, really. She likes Rand now.
No, I don't know. I enjoyed his journey this book. We got a lot more of him than we did in the last book. The last book, he was barely around.
Yes, that's true.
And prior to that, he was similar to, like I said, of my frustration with Perrin, of like his inner monologue was this circle over and over again. For sure. And that was really frustrating, whereas this time, he has accepted who he is, and he's accepted kind of his journey through life. He's frustrated with it, but it's less of the like, I'm not this, this can't be happening, and of like, okay, what do I do? And also, his journey with the women around him is hysterical. It's just, he doesn't know what to do with women.
It's very good.
And it's very funny because he very much has to hold himself as this leader character, but the women just completely derail him, and it is very humanizing to see. It's very humanizing to read that.
For sure.
Character-wise, those are probably, obviously, it's my girls again. I love the ladies. Oh yeah, and then Min.
Yeah,
Min coming
kind of
back
has
in
her
and out.
own thing this time.
She does, and it's really fun because she's just such a sass, and she's such a fun character, and we can go into her character's journey because that's definitely spoilery. But I liked having her. Obviously, it's all the girls.
All the girls.
I enjoy the ladies a lot.
I know that there were a lot happens in this book, and so I know that there were a lot of like very disparate plot lines. Did you find that made it more interesting to read since you got different perspectives throughout the book, or was it more of a struggle since you were having to follow so many different storylines throughout the book?
Both. A bit of both.
Okay.
What I had struggled with in prior novels, and I still don't really understand, and I don't know that there is a formula to it. I don't know that Robert Jordan had a formula to how he wrote, but it seems like we're with someone, sometimes it's like two chapters, different POV every like few chapters, and then we're with someone for like 30% of the book.
Sure.
And so often, the last one, we were with the Aes Sedai girls,
I remember you mentioning this with the last book, that you just didn't understand the delineations.
Because it just was like, not that I need everything to be even, but it was often of like, I don't foresee this storyline pushing us forward so much. I don't understand why we're here still. Maybe I'm biased and I enjoyed the last book because it was probably 30% with Nynaeve, Egwene, and Elaine. There was a very good chunk of that book that was with the girlies at Tarvalon. This book was all Perrin, and I didn't like that storyline. Not that I didn't like it, I didn't enjoy reading that storyline beyond like being in Emmons Field, and I think Emmons Field is fun and the locals are cool, but so I struggled with that, and I struggled with being like if we had stayed with the Aiel for that amount of time, I would have understood, because it's definitely pushing the plot very, very forward, very fast. There are a lot of things we need to learn about this new culture, to us, we don't know as much about this race of people, and I would have understood that, but I was like, why are we here for so long? Why are we in this chunk of text with this character for so long in this storyline that is definitely important, but doesn't seem to be moving the plot forward? Yeah. So, yes and no. Okay. It sometimes is a relief, because then I get to go, I'm like, oh my gosh, okay, we're back in Tenchiko, and I really wanted to know what's happening with these girls. Or we're back in the Wastes, and so yes and no. It's a little bit of both.
Okay. Cool. All right, well, I guess we should probably start jumping into a little bit more specific. So if you haven't read the book yet, stop now. We're going to start talking about some spoilers in 3, 2, 1.
So this book has two major plot points. Reveals, or not even major plot points, things that we focus on a lot that happen quite often. Reveals and spanking.
Oh, God.
There are so many references to spanking. It is unbelievable to me how many references to spanking there are, especially in a novel that gets into battle and gets into the nitty gritty and gets into especially this one definitely got violent in the fights that we had. The amount of people that reference spanking as a punishment completely blows my mind.
Yeah,
we don't.
I mean,
it's not okay.
Yeah, I don't really have anything for you there. There's a lot of spanking
that happened a lot,
about.
But then also, otherwise, this is Reveals the musical. There are so many reveals in this book. It is crazy. Even up into the last 40 pages, there are 3 more reveals, which I get at the end of a book, but it happened consistently throughout this novel, which I guess is very exciting. But it was we got to the point at the end where I was like, there are so many massive reveals in this book of who characters are, secrets about particular cultures, that at the end I was like, are you we're still doing this?
Still going?
Okay,
yeah.
I guess that's what we're doing. The theme in this book. I mean, the first one that starts out is Lanfear revealing herself.
Yes,
as
which is
Celine revealing herself as Lanfear.
Not the most crazy.
It's not the most crazy. This is also a thing that don't really understand about Robert Jordan's style of writing, of how much stuff happens off the page, and then a big moment happens on the page that was built up from stuff that didn't happen there, and I'm obviously supposed to go, but I was like, I wasn't there. Okay, cool.
Like what?
I mean, first of all, Lanfear's reveal is very anticlimactic. She's just to Rand, she's like, yeah, done, Lanfear.
Well, because, she is Lanfear.
I know, but, she comes in, she just, appears in his room, that's, really creepy, and then all of a sudden she's like, yeah, whatever, moving forward. But it happens in multiple other points, too, and now I'm forgetting what they are, but there was a few other times where I was like, obviously I'm supposed to have a big reaction to this, but so much of this happened off of the page that I feel like I wasn't even there for it. We were talking about Matt and going into the arches, just one arch.
The twisted red arch.
The twisted arch.
With the questions, yeah.
But it all happens off the page.
Well, that's supposed to be mysterious, and he doesn't even remember some of it.
No, I understand that, but I didn't realize that was supposed to be a big deal, because it was not made out to be a big deal, because there's literally nothing about it. He just comes back, he's all disgruntled.
Except for an entire prophecy about what he's supposed to do and what he will be doing.
Also, but it's said once and never repeated again. It's never brought into the
You just gotta remember this stuff.
I can't. I can't even remember people's names. It's that, and it's the same when he's in Roydian. Is it Roydian? I think it's Viridian.
I don't know how to
The Aiel city.
pronounce it.
I'm pretty sure they say
yeah.
Viridian.
Yes.
Viridian. And he, like, talks to these people, and all we get is, like, this fade to black of him being like, oh my god, you all are so annoying. And then,
then he got hung.
Of course, but, like, what happened? What happened?
Okay.
And then also, talk about spanking. Where there's this whole ordeal with Perrin and Fael in the ways, and there's literally, the amount of ellipses that are in just the end of this chapter is unbelievable, of him obviously physically harming his girlfriend. Not okay. And he's like, I can't believe that I... Well, when I was in the ways and I just went too far and I did ... And even Fael later on is like, well, maybe I'll do too what you did to me in the ways ...
I guess we should just dive into this since it seems to be something you have a strong opinion
let's dive
about.
into Fael and Perrin.
Yeah, okay. So,
I met Fael.
Tell us how you feel.
When I met Fael, pumped. Love her.
Yeah, I remember
no
you saying
nonsense
that. Yeah.
chick. I was like, oh, cute. Perrin gets a love interest. She's obviously no nonsense. She's not going to put up with a boy's foolishness. She's like a fighter. She's left the safety of her home to journey for the Horn. I think that's really cool. So I just think she is she came off as a very hardcore cool woman. She didn't like put up with anybody's crap, and I liked it. And people kept telling her what to do, and she was like, no, I'm gonna do what I need to do, even Moraine. And then blah blah whatever. I know they start to get together at the end of the last book because Perrin like saves her in the dream, and it's delightfully romantic.
Yeah.
And then in this book, obviously, it's like, we're together now. Great, love that. I like them a lot.
Sure.
But the two of them together are the most
loving,
manipulative,
wonderful,
frustrating relationship maybe I've ever read on a page.
Yeah, the toxic. Yeah.
Very toxic. They both treat each other horribly, and it's both of them. It is completely both of them. It's not just one or the other.
They deserve each other.
They both are horrendous together. They threaten each other all the time. And then then we hit these moments where they're like sweet and soft, and I assume as a reader I'm supposed to be like, aw, I'm not. You are terrible together. This is not healthy. None of this is good. And Perrin also, I think that was a big flip for him to see Perrin, who I do think in the past, him being like a wolf guy, he's kind of like having this inner turmoil of coming to grips with who he is, and he tends to be a little bit softer. And then he meets Fael, and he turns into this completely different person, this like crazy controlling person. I also have no patience, and maybe this is the books I read, maybe this is who I am as a woman. I have no patience in like fantasy or in fiction in general when there is some sort of battle or fight. There's something that we're fighting as a town, as a culture, as whatever, that is the idea of sending your loved one away to save them. I have no patience for that.
Oh, that's a bummer because that's a big plot line in a lot of books.
It's a big plot line in so many, and it drives me absolutely insane. Because if you did that, I would be pissed. I would much rather die in the front lines with the person that I love than just be sent away.
But can't you at least understand where they're coming from?
I can understand
where you got mad.
Because like I can't imagine taking that away from someone. If you have a desire, if you wanted to not, fine. But if you have a desire to fight, if you have a desire to protect the things that you love, to me, it would not be romantic for my loved one to attempt to send me away to save me. I would much rather my loved one give me the freedom to make the choice that I want to make.
Yeah, I understand that.
I know that is a massive trope. It happens all the time.
Of course it does, yes.
Even in the books that I read. But the books that I read are written by women in the modern day. And so usually it's like a one sentence of like, oh, I want to protect you. And they're like, no, I want to fight. And then their significant other's like, okay. And so like, at least like we're kind of getting there with that. But like, so that was the biggest thing between Fael and Perrin, was like Perrin trying to send her away to save her multiple times, trying to get her to not come with him to save her. Meanwhile, she is like a warrior fighter chick. She's gonna be fine. She's gonna be cool.
She's a hunter for the Horn.
She's told you multiple times she wants to come with you. Relax. And then they both play this terrible game, this crazy stubborn game, of trying to out-stubborn the other, and it is exhausting.
I mean, and they get Loyal involved, and it's that part.
And Loyal is
funny.
so mad.
Yeah, no,
he is so mad. Poor Loyal. He doesn't deserve that.
No, he does not. He gets in between their relationship squabbles.
Yeah, it's really interesting. It was a very toxic thing to read. There are many moments of just like Aiel and Perrin talking to each other that I was like, this is horrible. They'd be like, yeah, cool. And then she'd be like, I'm still gonna kill you if you don't let me do this. And I'm like, what the heck, you guys? Anyways, so that I will tell you, that is the portion of the book that slowed me down because it was a massive chunk of the book.
It was.
We were with the two of them for so long. And it made me sad because I enjoyed being in Emond's Field. I liked that we got to be there before it was destroyed, because I do feel like that's something that happens a decent amount in like fantasy, is like, oh, your hometown was destroyed, you go home and there's nothing.
Yes.
And so I liked the fact that we got to go and we got to fight for Emond's Field, and we got to bring everybody together to fight for home.
Yes.
And I thought that was cool, and also to know how much, to see them kind of embrace their history as Manetheren, and even down to bringing out like the old banners and things, and whether there was not like too much knowledge of that from them or whether or not, I thought it was really cool.
Yeah, I mean, just to shed some light on that plot line. I hope at least that you would like parts of it, because I remember I really enjoyed them fighting to defend the two rivers, and getting to see them go back and how the dynamics have changed between the people that they used to live with. And also, I'm always down for more Tam. He's the best.
Down for more Tam.
Yeah.
Tam is a very cool guy.
And it's like, okay, he's a sword. Like, we really talk about how he's like a sword master now, which is fun.
And he's like
instead
so
of
casual
like pretending
about it too.
that he's not.
Yeah. They're like, no, great. Tam's a good fighter.
Yeah.
Cool.
And Matt's dad.
Yeah, Matt's dad, who's just kind of a silly goose.
Yes, he is.
He's a little bit of a silly goose.
And so is his son.
Which I like. Yeah. It feels right. I enjoyed the Alviers. They're great. Bran is just a delightful person. This was the first time, I also realized I didn't say this, that I listened to the audiobook not being narrated by Rosamund Pike.
Yeah.
The audiobook was read by Michael Kramer, which everyone has told me is like the audiobook guy. I literally just started listening to audiobooks, listening to Wheel of Time, so this is my first experience. And then Kate Redding, who I've heard is his wife.
Oh, fun.
Which is delightful. So she does a lot of the stuff, because there's a lot of POV with Nynaeve and Elaine, and so when it's mainly women, she does those chapters. They don't switch in the chapters. It's like the start of the chapter.
Yes, of course.
So I thought it was cool, and I really enjoyed it. That's to say, he gave Bran Alvier this like delightful kind of Irish accent, which just felt very like cuddly, but also could be hard when he needed to be, which was really nice. And then her mother was just this like beautiful, supportive, wonderful female. Yeah. Also, I will say, in the battle for Emond's Field, the battle for the two rivers, I don't know if they titled it that, but it felt that way. It was cool how much imagery we got of the women. And I know that came from the White Cloaks like pulling out on them and not being there to battle with them, because that was something that Perrin had.
Well, because the White Cloaks hate Perrin. Boy, oh boy, do they.
White Cloaks are so annoying. But we got a lot of imagery of the women, not only with like preparing for a fight, but fighting, which I thought was really cool, especially in the chapters we had of Perrin talking about Aiel and treating her like an absolute baby and not giving her a lot of respect. So it was very refreshing to get a lot of that and see the women kick some butt.
Yeah,
really kick some butt. That was scary. Okay, we should probably go back to the start of the book.
Well, I kind of figured we could just go along the different plot lines. So, but I was going to ask about, you were speaking about this, you called this Reveal the Book. So
Reveal.
Talk about all the Aiel stuff and how you felt about spending so much time in the Aiel Waste.
Yeah, so the Aiel, I didn't really, they're kind of thrust upon us in the last book. Obviously, we hear about the Aiel.
The People of the Dragon.
The People of the Dragon. And we've spent some time with some of them, but this book was very heavy Aiel. And I thought it was fascinating. I think they're cool. I like the ability to get to know a different culture. Many different cultures within their sect, I suppose. I don't even know what the right terminology is. And we spent a lot of time with them. because I guess I should go back to the fact that I loved at the beginning of the book that we had so much time with everybody together.
Yes.
We haven't had that.
That was fun.
In a very long time. And I think that was another part of the reason that really got me going in this book, because that's what's good, is the relationships of, you know, the Emmonsfield Five and Elaine and Min and Moraine and the extra that they bring around with them. But it was so fun to kind of get their like human, like teenagery dynamic, because we don't really get that because everything else is very serious, or they're by themselves and they're scared and there's all kinds of stuff happening. So I loved that.
And it gave us time for Egwene to be like, Rand, we're not.
Yeah. Oh, I absolutely loved how Egwene and Elaine and Rand all dealt with their like, but you love him, but you don't. And Egwene immediately was like, Elaine, let me tell you this. I love him and I was supposed to marry him. I'm super not into it anymore. Yeah. And then she literally full on, like, Rand's trying to be like, hey guys, whatever. She's like, Rand, I don't love you. Like, it just like, boop. And he's like, cool, I guess I don't love you either. Like, am I allowed to say that? But like fully wanting to admit it. And I thought it was just fun to see like that's the kind of stuff that I really like. I don't need a lot of action. I don't need a lot of battles. I like emotional relationships. I like to watch them flourish. I like to watch people grow and change. And we got a lot of that. And Elaine is one of my favorite characters.
Elaine is great.
She's very forward, and I love that about her, because she's very much of like, especially with Rand, she's like, if I don't do this, he's never going to do it. I need to just make myself known. I like him, and if he doesn't like me, cool, I'll be heartbroken, but I got to do it. And so I really appreciate that. Also, poor her with Rand, because he is not a decisive man ever, so she's going to have some pain with that, but I adore her. And so anyways, just to bring it back to that, because that was delightful, and that was a good, I would say I guess I can't say a quarter of the first quarter of the book, but it was a pretty good solid chunk of the beginning of the book.
A lot of other stuff happens, like, you know, they get attacked and Rand blows everyone up.
Yeah, that's when Lanfear has her first reveal.
Yeah, and the arches with Matt and Rand and Moraine. And
apparently I just blacked out.
Yeah, I guess so.
Forgot that part. I remembered it, but I don't remember anything happening. I just remember them talking about it. Because Egwene also, it was Egwene or Nynaeve was like, okay, well, Moraine said we can't go in there. You know who's gonna go in there? Matt. Which again was just such a delight to have their dynamic together, all of them, of being like, I know this person very well. Let's put them in the right piece of the puzzle. Yeah, and so then they all split. Perrin makes his decision to go back home. Nynaeve and Elaine start out deciding they're going to go to Chanchico.
Find some Black Aja.
To find the Black Aja. Moraine and Rand and Egwene all decide they're going to go to the Waste.
And Matt decides to follow
them. And Matt is just like, I guess. Classic Matt of being like, oh, you're all so annoying, but I think I'm going to do what you want me to do.
In like a weird doorway told me I have to go here, so I guess I will, fine.
And also like, I kind of love you all, whatever. So that's like the first dispersing. And so a good chunk of that time is spent with the Aiel, and we get to Rhuidean pretty fast, I feel like.
Well, a lot happens there, so that's good.
A lot happens there. I thought it was really interesting. I thought I apparently didn't have the right reaction to it, didn't have as intense of reaction as I was supposed to, because to the reveal about the history of the Aiel. Because that's very much what it is. Also, I didn't understand, and maybe I totally missed this, all of the clan chiefs of the Aiel go through the glass pillars. Yes. In Rhuidean. Okay, so all of the clan chiefs.
Because that's how Rand proves that he is actually.
Okay, cool. That's what I kind of got lost with that in the beginning, and then literally at the end of the book, I was like, oh, okay, I get it. They all know. Only these clan chiefs know, because it's a big reveal, and of the this. Gosh, I don't think I'm gonna explain it right. Going through what do they call it? Like the cloud domed city or something, which is like don't it's the name, all also like this reminds me similarly of the Aes Sedai, of everyone being like, yeah, these arches have been here forever, we don't really know, but like you should probably, that's what you have to do.
That is a common theme.
Yeah, it feels very similar with the Aiel. They're just like, yeah, this like creepy clouded city is just here and most people don't come back from it, but you gotta do it. It's like, okay. And then also the women go in as well, to be wise women. And here comes another one of my hot takes and my frustrations with this novel and many of the other ones. Why are the women always naked? cool. I am happy to believe and to be in a culture and to talk about, like, just its body, be proud of your body, like, your body, great, cool, but the men never have to take their clothes off. To go into Roydian, I guess maybe I kind of missed this too, of Avienda goes in because she is to be a wise one.
Yes.
And then Moraine...
Much to her chagrin.
Much to her chagrin. Poor Avienda, she just wants to fight with the spear. And then Moraine also goes in, I don't remember why. But Avienda has to take all of her clothes off. Every single one of them. They talk about it.
Well, that's what the wise ones do.
Cool. And Moraine also has to, because she's also a woman.
Because she's the...
Rand doesn't have to take his clothes off.
Yes, yeah.
Or Matt, who follows him. And none of the men who go into this have to take their clothes off. This happens in the previous books when the Aes Sedai go through the arches. They have to take their clothes off. Again, fine. Great. Body is a body. Be out and proud with your body. But, like, the men never do it. The only time that I was like, okay, cool, was the pirate ladies. Because the pirate ladies are like, yeah, when we're out at sea, we don't wear shirts. They're annoying. But neither do the men. Great. Cool. I first read it and I was like, of course, another woman taking her clothes off for absolutely no reason. And then they were like, no, everybody does it. And I'm like, okay, cool, at least you got that. That just really bothers me.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's understandable. It is...
Especially, specifically, I don't think I would have, like... I kind of batted an eye at it when the Aes Sedai talk about it, and then, of course, when they're spanked. Of course they are. They also are completely unclothed and going through the... I understand the idea of, like, you're stripping yourself bare to go through this test to come out. Yeah. Great. But then we get to Roydian, and... it's obviously like a very similar rite of passage, a very similar test. Why do the women have to be absolutely naked and the men do not? That does not make, there is no, I don't think you could justify it.
I'm not trying to justify it.
I'm just saying.
I think that
pretty dumb.
I think that Robert Jordan
likes naked women.
I mean,
they're great, but like, it's not, why it doesn't make sense to me why one gender would need to be completely nude to go through basically the same situation and the other would not.
No, you're right. You're 100% right.
Pain point for me. Hot take.
Yeah.
Anywho, so Rand goes in with Matt. Matt, of course, is like, I guess you're dragging me along on this. Everything he does begrudgingly. Every single thing he does begrudgingly. And it's funny too because there is an undercurrent of love for his people, for Matt, especially for like all of the Emmons Field people. He has this undercurrent of love for them, but boy, does he not say it. Boy, is he mad anytime he has to do anything. And he always makes the choice to do the thing. He's like, I'm so mad. So he goes in, he does the thing.
He gets hung. Rand saves him.
Yeah, but it fades to black. This is my other thing.
It's like a magic thing.
Oh, cool. He goes into this thing. He's like, this must be like the other arch, through question arch. And he goes in, we see these people. Matt's literally like, okay, what do you guys got for me? Like, already frustrated with it. And then it essentially fades to black until we come back and Rand saves him from being hung. And
now he's got a cool spear and he has a medallion.
I just had a hard time. I read it and was like, okay, moving on. Like, didn't
That's so funny
because that's one of my
like favorite parts of this book. I love Matt, and this is like where his storyline like really kicks into gear.
Yeah.
And he kind of, like the spear thing that he gets. This is kind of like his iconic silhouette is being filled out.
Yeah.
As
which
as
I
this
like
is
it.
going on.
I also guess just like someone makes a comment later on like, oh, you're really good with that spear, and he's like, I don't know.
Well, because it's like an extension of his quarterstaff.
Yes, and that's my reasoning of being like, oh yeah, cool. Like, this is not a big deal. This is Matt. Matt has been this way forever. And then also him talking in the old tongue, he's been doing that since the first book.
Now he's got all these memories that make him
he's mad about him.
He's pissed about him.
He's really mad
about him. He wants his
him.
own memories back, which is understandable, but also makes him like an expert in things that he
but we also don't, like, because he's so frustrated with it, we never really get it outright. There's like a tiny hint at something coming, and then Hill attempts to cover it up because he's so frustrated. So I just like I didn't get the like, this is a really big deal. I just kind of got the like, okay, Matt's just doing some stuff.
Matt's always just doing some stuff.
And then Rand goes through the is it the glass columns or something of the sort? They have a name for them, and finds out the history of the Aiel. And I thought that whole section was done so fascinatingly in that we were consistently going back through one bloodline each time. Each time it was someone we had like heard mention of in the first. So it was like somebody's grandfather, and then his grandfather, and then his grandfather. And it was really, I thought it was really well done of also kind of seeing the age of enlightenment that they had been in at the very, very beginning of like the flying machines, essentially, and all of the other like cool high-tech stuff, very much how people would kind of talk about Atlantis in our day and age of like they just had it figured out, and we're kind of, even though we have this like era of high tech, it's not at all as much as the enlightenment of our ancestors. And I thought that was really, really cool. Really, really cool. I read I think it's in like the first or the second flashback where they go back to, the Aiel were pacifists. They believed in the way of the leaf. I read that as like, dope. Cool. Oh, that's really cool. Think so. I truly was like, what's the big deal? That's kind of dope and interesting of like where that shifted and how that shifted. So cool. And I also goes through this with some other guy that I completely forgot who he was when we went into it. Because I feel like he was mentioned like once, which is very much happens all the time. It's like this person or this thing is mentioned once a very long time ago and I'm supposed to remember it. And he was very obviously raised.
And what you didn't say there is, and I don't.
And I don't remember it. So he absolutely cannot handle it.
Can't handle it.
Cannot handle it.
Clearly.
Eats his eyes.
Yeah.
Great. Plucks his eyeballs out, eat them. Which I also didn't realize they had mentioned. It's
not explicitly said.
Which, like, thank goodness. Except for Rand does say it later. Like, he ate his eyeballs. Because he, like, it's like something about the vision for the description of him plucking his eyes out is very vivid. But then afterwards it's like he pulls his veil up and is chewing on something, and I didn't get it until you said
connect
that.
The dots,
like, gross. I also, I'm looking at that of being like, okay, why are you so relaxed?
Why are you so mad?
Just like, okay, doesn't mean you have to be that way, but like, that's your history.
Their entire identity has suddenly just been, flipped on its head.
No, yeah, totally. But also, like, I don't know. I'm at a phase in my life in which I'm very open to people telling me differently. So reading something like that, and it did take me a long time to get there with other, certain things in my particular life. Not that I am of a warrior culture and told that I was from a pacifist culture. But I also think that is an important dynamic in being a human being, and something that in the past few years has really been brought to the forefront of my mind as people. I wish we could be more open and just kind of listen.
Not the Aiel.
Not the Aiel, but that's even like watching something like that. I'm like, take a minute, like let it soak in before you freak out. Give it a minute to settle. But I am not. This is a novel. It's supposed to be dramatic. It's cool. But it was just, it's funny that of like, I was like, yeah, this was cool. And you're like, this is a big deal.
I had to tell her while she was reading. She's like, I'm reading this thing about this, and it seems kind of fun. And I was like, that's a really big deal. You should like read that very carefully.
I mean, and they did, and I got it. I just am like, okay. Well, and it was interesting how it was brought back in at the very, very end of the book, where Rand reveals to all of the Aiel that they used to believe in the way of belief. And
he fractures them.
Blows it up. Absolutely blows it up. But it is really interesting to me that all of the clan chiefs know. And because, like, I don't know if, like, and the Aiel at first, I felt like they felt like a very understanding people, like a very almost evolved, which I think they are in a lot of ways, in specifically, like, their freedom with their sexuality and their openness in relationships and how the power of women within their culture it felt very forward thinking to me. And so I was a little bit surprised that like there is still this like hush hush secret about the past, because so much of it, but then also they are very regimented and ruled and specific about honor and respect. And it feels I struggled with that because I felt like they felt so understanding and open-minded in so many ways, and then within their culture it's just fully not at all. What else do I have to say? Rand has so many threesome dreams, and they start out at first Also, Lanfear always gets in and messes it up. Anytime Rand's having a slightly sexy dream, she's like, excuse me? And because that's her domain, essentially, is dreams. And so Rand will go in, and at first it's like, I am struggling to believe that Min is such a part of it, because she, like, begrudgingly loves him, and they don't spend a lot of time together, whereas him and Elaine spend a lot of time together, so I understand the attraction there. And I understand the attraction to Min and him, but, like, I didn't realize that Min was going to be such a player in Rand's mind, either. I also do think that is part of my problem for having watched the show, because that is very much not how Min is written in the show.
Sure.
And so I have this kind of vision of this character that does not...
Exactly.
It's not the same. But yeah, so he's like, you know, he's always like in the lake, and they're like, come on in, Rand. And it's lit. Every time it starts, there's like, and then like Lanfear comes in. Rand's trying to be like, which one do I choose? And they're like, you don't have to choose. And then Lanfear's like, get your crap together, dude. Like, stop it. Which I think is very funny. I think all the stuff with the dreams is really fascinating.
Yeah.
We even, like, it starts out with crazy, right before the big battle at the beginning with Lanfear and all of her cronies, there's like this crazy mirror battle that Rand has with like a mirror reflection of himself, and then Matt and Perrin are together, and there's some other like dream-ish world battle that like, and nobody else seems to see it. I'm constantly fascinated with the dream world in this novel. I love how much time we spend there. I think it's really cool. Period. End of story. Let's see.
How did you feel about Min's entire plotline and like everything that happened at the tower?
Oh, intense.
Yeah.
At first I saw it as kind of hilarious because we're in Min's head, and Min is like, I'm wearing this stupid dress and they're telling me I have to be this stupid girl, and I'm not even a stupid girl. And she has to go by her full name, which is Elmindreda.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think they said it Elmindreda in the book. I was pronouncing it in my head as Elmindreda.
That's that's how I pronounced it too, but whatever.
So who knows? But they also call Tarvalon, or they say it differently. Anyway,
interesting.
I thought her storyline was really interesting, and I wish we would have had more time with her, because I like the tower. I like Suan Sanche. I think she's cool. Yeah. She got still.
I know.
That broke my heart.
Yeah.
Especially because her reaction to it, I guess it kind of reminded me of myself, of like, this is absolutely heartbreaking, gotta be cool with it. Like, I gotta figure it out, because she's still that leader. Inside, she does make fish
references. You can't stop her. You can't. Stealing will not stop the fish references.
Literally, there are times throughout this novel, there are always some sort of fish or fisherman references. Almost any time Suan Sanche
They want to make sure you don't forget that that's where she's from.
She is a fisherman's daughter.
Yeah.
There's times when I would read it and I'd be like, that's what I'm like, oh, that was a fish reference. They didn't even get it. Ah! And there's even one at the end after she gets stilled where she says something about, I forget who the woman who stills her is, but she's like, I'm gonna catch her in a net or something like that. And I'm like, wow, she's consistent with who she is.
Oh, she sure is.
But it was absolutely heartbreaking to read her, and I believe it's Leanne that she's with, or Leanna.
Yeah.
There's a lot of the same names. I think it's Leanne, because she's her keeper of the
Chronicles.
The Chronicles, thank you.
Something
like that.
Yeah.
Keeper of the books is what came to my head. And to see her power her way through it so that she could keep Leanne okay dealing with it as well, because she goes from 0 to heartbreak.
Yeah.
As well, which makes sense. And I'm assuming we're gonna get more of her in the next books, because I'm really curious to watch her journey with that. That was absolutely heartbreaking. It was also really interesting because when Min first comes to the tower, she keeps seeing all of these visions of very, very violent things happening to all of the Aes Sedai and everyone else. And so basically she tells what's her title?
Amyrlin Seed?
The Amyrlin Seed. She tells the Amyrlin Seed that she's like, there's gonna be a battle. I don't know when it is, I don't know how it comes, but like I keep seeing all these things. And Min is almost very much in denial of it as well, of being like, there's no way there could be a battle here.
Yeah.
And I was actually, because that's how it was handled, I was actually surprised it happened in this book.
Yeah.
The way that she talked about it in her visions felt to me like it was gonna be years down the road. But it was not. It was not. It was our tricksy Elida, who is so annoying and so frustrating, and anytime we're in her head, I'm like, talk about one-hit wonder. It's like the same. I'm so mad and I'm not. She can't even. She doesn't deserve to be Amyrlin Seed, and she's gonna ruin the tower. I'm surprised how many people she got to follow her, because she does not seem like fun. And so, yeah, that was devastating. So the tower is in the hand of questionable hands at this point. And Siwan has fled. And Gawain is Elaine's real brother.
Yes.
Galad is her half-brother.
Half-brother, yes.
Okay. And Galad has done something bad in the past. I don't know what it is, but apparently he has. But Gawain, I think, is kind of lovely.
Yeah.
He's very much, his journey in this was, we don't get too much of him beyond his friendship with Min, which I think saves her in a lot of places, and I think it's also kind of, they have a good banter together of like, we're kind of these like teenish kids. I don't actually know how old they are all supposed to be. 19?
I think they're supposed to be in their late teens.
Okay, that feels right. That feels right. But they have kind of like a realistic, banter between the two of them, which I find fun.
Yeah.
And he obviously is struggling with the idea of loyalty, of how do you...
Yeah, for sure.
How do you be loyal, but then also do what's right? Like, how do you, if those two don't match up, what do you do? Like, how do you behave? Very much at the end of this, because he's been told that, and he also, Elida has been his mother's counselor forever.
Yep.
And he's been told that Siwan Sanche is a dark friend, and then his friend Min is like, no, she's not. And you see him kind of battle that, which I always find those kind of dynamics very interesting. And I similarly felt that same way with, Aegyanan, that Nynaeve and Elaine spend some time with in Tanchico, who reveals herself to be kind of accidentally. She doesn't reveal herself. Bail Doman says,
Yeah.
And her journey is really interesting. I'm really afraid of her, though, because I've liked the character, and I'm worried that she is going to fully flip. Don't smile like that.
What? I didn't even say anything.
Because the Shantian are horrible. They are absolutely horrible. They suck. But it was really interesting of her being like, I didn't understand that you could learn to channel. I didn't, she says to Elaine and Nynaeve multiple times, because she knows outright that they're Aes Sedai, or that they're posing as Aes Sedai. And she says multiple times, I didn't expect you to be like this. So it's interesting to see a young person from a culture that has told her to believe one certain thing, and one, it's black and white, this is good and evil, to see her question that.
For sure.
In a real way. And I'm hoping that that's real. I read too much fantasy because I'm always ready for someone to flip. I'm always ready for someone to be bad. And obviously she comes from a culture that is bad outwardly, but I thought that that's the kind of stuff that I like to read, because the world is nuanced. It is, you can't see things as black and white, and to see that illustrated in a narrative, I hope makes other people think as well of like, how am I looking at things that are one way or another, and that very much is a parallel to the Aiel and many other particular cultures in this book, of that like, what? Everything I know is completely different.
It's completely wrong,
and hopefully it opens some minds, because I think that's the way to go about it. I also thought Drunk Elaine was very funny. There's a whole chapter with her just being very drunk. And at first I was worried of like, she's been poisoned, something's bad gonna happen to her. And I was like, no, it's just fully this like young princess essentially getting drunk for the first time in her life. And her relationship with Tom is so sweet. Because she remembers who he is, because he doesn't reveal, he travels with her and Nynaeve to protect them, which is funny because he's like, says that Moraine told him to do it, but he fully makes the decision himself. Yes. And their relationship starts to kind of unveil, and we see a lot of Elaine really caring for him, and every time he's out in the streets, she's like, you need to stop. Tugs on his mustaches. That's what she does when she's drunk. She's like, I don't know why I'm doing this.
Yes, exactly. It's very good.
But it was really cute. I thought their dynamic was really sweet. I love Avienda. I think she's so funny. Her relationship with Rand is really fun. And there's that part of me that reads so much romance that is ready for an enemies to lovers love story with her and Rand, because she full out says that she hates him. The wise women are like, you have to spy on him, and here, dress like a pretty girl, maybe he'll think you're pretty. And she starts like crying. She's like, but I hate him. And then they spend all this time begrudgingly together, and Rand starts to develop a kinship with her, and I really enjoy that, because I really like her character. I feel for her. She just wants to be a girl of the spear, and she has the power to channel, so they're like, nah girl, you gotta do this.
Gotta be a wise one.
Yeah, which is a bummer. But I do love her, and I think she's really fun. I hope her and Rand fall in love. I would be totally down with that. It would be a really fun twist to the plot. I'm not holding out hope for it, though.
I hate him.
She also is so... Literally, Rand can't breathe without her being like, but you love Elaine. Don't even look at another woman. It's great. She's literally like, what did you look over there? Why did you look over there? Elaine's your woman.
What was it, the one you read to me?
Oh yeah, she's a milk-skinned wench.
Milk-skinned wench, yeah.
She's taken up for either berating Rand for like just existing in a world where other women exist because Elaine is his woman and Elaine is her friend, or she's bringing down these other women to him, or she's very detailedly, nope, that's not a word, intricately describing Elaine and her body to him at all times. She's like, have you ever seen her naked? Well, let me tell you, it's great.
It's great.
So it's like, those are her tactics, and I think it is so funny and delightful, and Rand, of course, is like, I don't know what to do, like, I have nothing to do with it. So I think that's very fun. And yeah, so we get to the last reveal, which is that Agamemnon. What's his name? Agamemnon.
Are you talking about Mogdian or Asmodeus?
No, I guess we should talk about that one too. There's so many reveals in this book because.
So it's gonna be a long video.
Nynaeve goes into the dream world to try and save Tenchiko to get the Black Aja, and then assumes that she's destroyed one of the dark... Forsaken, thank you. Which all these kids from Evansfield
these
have
Evansfield
such
kids
confidence.
got a lot of confidence.
That multiple times they have battled Forsaken, mainly now Nynaeve and Rand. They're like, oh, they're dead. Like,
I did it.
You really think? Literally, that's it. Like, well, I did it. Rand multiple times, like, did that, and the Dark One's dead, and cool. And they're like, dude, absolutely not. And that happens with Nynaeve and Mogodian.
I don't know how to say her name.
She's cool. Anyways, who just like runs away all the time.
Yes.
Which I thought, though I will say Nynaeve had a pretty intense display of power in their dream fight. And she got all of the things that they needed, but they get the thing that's like essentially a collar for men.
Yes.
And that's what
that's
what the Black Asha were after. So that part, Nynaeve, I will give you, is a success. But you're coming in thinking that you defeated this Forsaken, this centuries-old evil power. Maybe not so much. I do believe in you, and you're awesome, but not so much. And then Rand, when he makes his big reveal to the Aiel that they are not the people that they thought that they were, then he makes it rain in the desert, which was a really cool image of him like pulling on the water. And I'm hoping we get a little bit more of the waste in the next book to see what effect that had on them. And then he has this like dream world fight with Lanfear and Asmodean, thank you.
I was like, what are you trying to say?
Who also like reveals they've been disguising themselves as the peddler's friends.
Sure, yes.
Which it was very obvious that the Gleeman was gonna be a bad guy because he has enough reactions with Rand where he's like, why is he so weird? Why is he trying to make me feel bad all the time? And so he is revealed as another one of the Forsaken.
Yes.
Lanfear's there. Obviously, the whole time she's like, I don't understand why you're not just with me, whatever. And then this other guy, Rand, basically not stills him, but cuts him off from...
Shields him.
Cuts him off from the Dark One. And I think this character is going to be interesting because he is kind of a, like, wish-washy, dopey guy. At least that's how I felt about him in this fight because he's with Lanfear and Rand doing all this, like, hardcore stuff, and then afterwards he's like, okay, fine. And Rand reveals that he kind of assumed that they were around the whole time and has been making this plan of cutting this man off from his dark source so that he can train
Rand, yes.
as a man wielding the one power, which I thought was a really interesting twist for Rand, and there was obviously something because he this entire book was Rand being like, I got plans and I'm not telling anybody about them. And I never.
Well, he did so much brooding. You better hope he came up with some.
It was not. He did not do as much brooding in this book. In the first, yeah. All of his brooding was him making these plans. It is interesting. Like there is so much about these books that is kind of I struggle following because there's a lot of lore that I think we get little bits and pieces of that I'm obviously supposed to have held on to, and I struggle with that. And Like, I never would have guessed that this was Rand's plan because I don't remember anything about the lore of this particular guy. And I think that is probably obviously very much on me, because I've realized this about Robert Jordan's writing, is there is an expectation that, like, you're not getting spoon-fed. You're very much, so much is going to happen off the page. Like I have said before, of being like, okay, I guess I missed that. And there is so much of the lore, and even like when we met the Aiel, it was just like we were thrown all of these terms and all of the different clans, and I was not keeping up at all, because it's just it's like, yeah, duh, this is what it is, and I really struggled with that. And similar with a lot of the Forsaken stuff, which I think we get fed a little bit piece by piece, but it'll be interesting to see what happens in the next one, especially with Rand and his little buddy now.
Yeah, little buddy, sure.
I'm gonna call him his little buddy. His little magic buddy.
What do we want to rate this book out of?
Trying to think of like a thing.
I mean, Matt gets the medallion and the spear.
Dude, we could just do spear, because it's the Aiel.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
How about a spear?
Okay, a spear. Sure, cool. We'll do spears in honor of the Aiel. So how many spears out of 5 would you give this?
Oh, gosh, I don't know, because I liked so much of it, and then I disliked a good chunk of it. I read this one probably faster than the others. I will say, and I've said this to you, but I would like to go back and retroactively rate the last one a 5.
Great. So if you've watched to the end of this video, you know that she actually wants to give
I want to give it a 5.
The Dragon Reborn a 5.
Because I always get overwhelmed when I do the ratings.
I know, it's okay.
I need to like have it in my head beforehand, but I just get overwhelmed. I think this, I'm going between a 4 and a 4.5.
Okay, so which one?
I'll give it a 4.5.
Okay, cool.
Because most of it I really liked.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I would give this a 5 out of 5 spears. I think this is one of the best Robert Jordan books. There's, like you said, there are so many reveals.
So many reveals.
This is one of the books where the moments that happen in this book are still very clear in my mind, just because there were so many of them. So yeah, I really love this book. I think it's great.
I enjoyed it. I had a great time.
Okay, awesome. Well, thank you all so much for watching. Please like and subscribe to see more of our videos, and
we'll see you on our next adventure.